Welcome to the Metalheads podcast with the heavy metal strength coach and Shrub 666. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Metalheads podcast. I actually got the name of the podcast correct for once, which doesn't happen very often. I am joined by my brother in metal, Shrub 666. How you doing, mate?
Good morning. Not too bad, not too bad.
Yeah, my cat just vomited all over the house, so I was late onto this call. I've actually written articles about how bad it is to be late, so I'm now the world's biggest hypocrite. Now, Shrubs, what music have you been listening to this week?
Well, just a couple of ones that have been on constant repeat in terms of albums. The Afsky's new album, Ofte, let me just get this right, Ofte Jeg drømmer mig død, which means often I dream myself dead in Danish. So, and that's a really, really good album. One-man band, obviously black metal type stuff. Just proper solid, lots of good one-man band stuff coming out at the moment, which I can't help keep listening to at the moment. So that's a really, really good album all round. It sounds, it's got really, really good production, and the drums sound amazing on it. So do you know if he's played all the instruments on it, or did he bring in session music? Everything is done by him. He's not brought in any guests at all on it. As far as I could see on everything when I was looking up the album and everything else, it was really, really, really good. So just a great album to listen to for a good 40 minutes or whatever it is it runs for. There's not a bad song on there actually.
Really?
So proper nice.
How did you discover it?
I'd heard the previous album, because this is his second album, I believe, and I'd heard his first album, which I thought was pretty decent, and decided to give it a follow on Spotify, and then it popped up on my new releases. So that's basically how I went about finding it. Also, a couple of other friends that are in bands had posted up about listening to it as well, so it was definitely worth checking out. So that's how I tend to find most of my stuff, is either through someone's recommendation, so I'll go and check it out and then give it a follow on Spotify, or check it out on Bandcamp and do a follow from there, and then you just get emails and inundated with loads of stuff telling you when stuff's being released. So.
Yeah, and then you end up with the to listen to list that's about 18 days long, which is absolutely fine. Just after it this week. All right, man. Yeah. What else have you been listening to this week?
Also, there's been a split from, and I'll try and say this correctly, Almyrkvi and Ruins of Beverast. Now, the Almyrkvi are from Iceland. They've only got 2 members, so there's at least, they've doubled the number of members to everyone else. And Ruins of Beverast, again, is a one-man band. Yeah. And it's basically just a 4-track split between the 2 of them, and that's just magnificent. Mm-hmm. I mean, Ruins of Beverast are really, really good anyway. They're within the black metal realm, but their style can change over their albums. I mean, they did an EP a little while ago that was very sort of like tribal sounding, so it was lots of sort of like percussion and stuff like that, and it was very, very tribal orientated in that sort of style. And this one, they've got 2 tracks on there. Now the one's called The Grand Nebula Rise, and that sounds as massive as it's actually named. It takes you like on a journey, basically through space and time. Mm-hmm. And there's some quite trippy little bits in it. Again, the drums sound amazing on Ruins of Beverast's side. It's just like a massive cosmic journey. And then the Icelandic band, I'm not going to keep trying to say their name because
we'll have it in the show notes, don't worry.
Yeah. So, and both their songs are just magnificent. But then Iceland's really, really got some quality bands coming out of there. So
you got some other examples of some Icelandic bands for me that puts you on.
You got Svartadaldi, Misthrifing, and the Oranssi Pazuzu.
Yeah.
All those sort of people all coming out of Iceland. I think Oranssi Pazuzu from Iceland. I'm pretty certain they are. But yeah.
Not only are they the most sportive, are sporting the successful populations, are now one of the most successful and innovative metal populations as well. They've only got a population of like 330,000 and they're coming out.
Yeah, and all of them are in black metal bands.
Yeah. All right, man. What else has been filling your ears this week?
Well, a couple other bands. Hail Spirit Noir from Greece. And I can't even remember. I just come across this just haphazardly. I think it was another band recommended them that I was following. And I thought, I'll give it a listen. Oh, my God. It's like psychedelic prog rock, but with an underlying hint of black metal in it, and it's just fantastic. Really, really, really properly good. And the song was Crossroads, and it was a YouTube video that I actually watched, and the animation that they use on it is superb as well. So I thought I'd check it out a little bit more, and their new album comes out later this month, 19th of June it's released, so in a couple of weeks' time. So I'm really, really looking forward to listening to that whole album. Yeah. It's called Eden in Reverse. Mm-hmm. And I think it'll be really, really interesting because their early stuff was definitely black metal. I think this is like their fourth album or something. So their first album was definitely fully in the realms of black metal. And then from then it just started to change into this more proggy type sound. And it's kind of, if you listen to Enslaved and when Enslaved do their cleaner vocals and prog bits, it sounds like a whole song of that.
Yeah.
So it's really, really, really good. So that's proper quality. And then there's a Portuguese band called GAEREA. And their new album called Limbo comes out in July. But I've been listening to a song called Null.
Yeah.
So, and that sounds like Uada and Schammasch, kind of a bit of a mix between those two. Oh, so wow. Again, really, really good if you sort of like your black metal with a bit more of a death metal type sound, and a few expansive moments in it. But yeah, so those two definitely been kicking off, and then still the new Enslaved song as well. So,
well, yeah, Enslaved are definitely the band that we've mentioned the most on this podcast. So everyone will be familiar with their work now, or I would hope. Anything else that you can think of this week that you've been listening to?
Nothing really has stood out well enough in my head. I did listen to the new Centenex album, which is death metal. Yeah. That pretty decent listen. Just didn't pop for me. So it was good. Just nothing exceptional. It made me want to keep repeat listening for it.
Yeah.
So a bit hit and miss this week with stuff. Mostly just that Afsky album and the split with Ruins of Beverast. Yeah, just a few songs chucked in here and there, and just basically I've just been all over the place listening to stuff that just kicks off, and I listen to one track and then move on. Yeah. So nothing much has stuck this week. So
well, I'll be able to get some stories out of you now anyway. So I've re-listened to an album this week called I Begin, which is by a band called Godseed, and I thought this album was just absolutely flawless. I ended up putting every single song from that album onto my training playlist. These were Godseed some of their band are involved with. Is it? Oh, I can't remember the band off the top of my
I think
head.
it's Gorgoroth, isn't it? Because
That's the one.
It was Garl and King of Hell, because they wanted to use the Gorgoroth name and carry on Gorgoroth, but it went through a legal case, if I've got my memory correct on this, because it happened a fair few years ago now. And so they weren't allowed to use the Gorgoroth name.
Yeah.
And so they went off and did Godseed.
Yeah.
And did they only ever release one album?
Yeah, I think it's the only album they did, and it's a shame that they didn't do more. And well, I hope they'll do more in future, because the album is fucking amazing.
Yeah, I don't think they will, because King of Hell's got his own band called Of Hell.
I'd forgotten about those.
And Garl's gone on and has got. He actually retired from doing music for a period of time, and then's come back and done Garl's Weird.
Okay.
So,
any good?
Yeah, Garl's Weird is really good album, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because you hear Garl do some clean vocals, which is very odd. But yeah, really, again, another good listen. A little bit challenging at times, but it's worth it, though.
Yeah. Have you heard of a band called Falkenbach?
I've heard the name, haven't heard them.
I was listening to an album called Asa, I assume, or Asa, and it's a very interesting album, lots of like death metal in there, some quite folky bits in there, some jazzy bits in there, and I really enjoyed that one, and I'll link that up in the show notes as well. Let's see what else I've had on the to listen to this week. I have been listening to quite endlessly Celtic Frost's album Monotheist, and when I said that I'd listen to that, you said prepare yourself, it's a beast of an album. What do you think about that?
It's a beast of an album. Quite literally, it's full of some of the biggest riffs ever. It's definitely, for me, I mean, it's the last Celtic Frost album and will ever be, because Martin Ain's no longer in it, and I don't think Tom would want to do any more Celtic Frost stuff without Martin as such, apart from that last live album that he did with Triptychon, which was all Celtic Frost songs, but then again, he wrote them anyway. But yeah, what a beast of an album.
Yeah.
It's an absolute monster of an album.
Just absolutely huge. I absolutely loved it, and I can't believe I've not heard about it or known about this album until now, because it's going to be essential listening to for me for basically the rest of time, because it is just so good.
Yeah, welcome to proper Doom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my Doom playlist had a big influx of new songs this week. Another song, another album even that I've been listening to this week, which I just love the title of this album, and I think that it lives up to the title as well. It's by a band called Asthma, and they did an album called Mount Crushmore, and it is just an incredible album. I don't know if you've heard that one.
No, I don't know that one.
It's quite doomy and sludgy and dirty, but it's got quite an element of fun to it. Like the titles are all quite interesting, and I'll send you that one over, and I'll put that one in the show notes as well. Have you heard of a band called Mortiferum?
No.
I've got some recommendations to send you this week, my friend. Let's see. Another album that I was listening to this week was by the band False, and the album is Portent. Have you heard of that? I know you've heard of that one.
Yeah. No, that was a great album. It came out last year, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Proper decent, good stuff, that is. Yeah. Another friend of mine, it popped up. She posted it up on something the other day. And we just sat and had a conversation about how good it really is.
Oh yeah.
There's some proper good stuff out there, away from the mainstream. So I mean, I spend my time going through Bandcamp and Spotify. They're my two main sources for everything, really, to find new stuff. You just go through and try it out. If you don't like it, move on. It's that simple nowadays. So
yeah, and since starting this podcast, I've been using Bandcamp. I've been using Bandcamp before. I knew that it was a thing and hadn't really got into it, and now I just find it like such a useful tool for finding new music.
Yeah.
Another album that I re-listened to this week was The Great Mortality by the Infernal Sea, which is one of my favourite albums that I've ever listened to. I just wondered what your history is with the Infernal Sea and how many times you've seen them live, and any stories that you might have about them.
How many times have I seen them live? I've only seen them live a few times now, 2 or 3 times. Yeah, we saw them at Viking Fest.
Yeah,
and
it's a great festival.
I've got a funny feeling that might have even been the first time I'd actually managed to see them live, because every other time it kind of clashed or I was unable to go.
And they played Damnation just before that.
Yeah, they did, but did I get to see him? I don't think I got to see him. I think I was either too drunk, or if it was this year, I would have been. I spent the first 2 hours running around Leeds trying to sort a friend out. So instead of being able to see like Dawn Raid and probably Infernal Sea, that was they I didn't get to see him because I was having to sort an issue out that I had with a friend.
So it was the first time you saw them with me. Wow.
Yeah, and then I saw them in Leeds at Temple of Boom earlier this year. That was tiny venue. You got to love tiny venues for the intimate viewing of a band. You see warts and all happen properly at small venues.
I think their sound would get lost in a big venue.
Yeah, as with most black metal bands that play that style of black metal, where it's a little bit thinner on the sound. When you stick them on bigger stages in bigger arenas, it does get lost. You do need that second guitar sound in there as well, just to help fill up the room a little bit more with sound. But in small venues, small intimate venues, it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it was like there were demons screaming from the pits of hell. This green light comes on underneath the stage and just lights it up, and then they sing about various plague-related songs, which is always good fun.
Yeah, it's always magnificent to have songs related to plague, especially current.
Yeah, it's all about pestilence. All right, so that brings us to the time when we talk about a classic album that is essential listening with metal. So, Shrubs, have you got a recommendation for us this week?
I do indeed. It has to be Obituary, Slowly We Rot. If you want to get into death metal, this is what properly got me into death metal. I'd kind of skirted around it before that with Death's Leprosy, which I thought was really, really good. But for me, Death Leprosy still sounded a little bit too thrashy. This one actually had the filthy riffs and thick sounding riffs that people have come to know with quite a lot of death metal nowadays, especially the more commercial side of death metal. This album is just literally filled with quintessential death metal songs. Just the opener alone, Internal Bleeding, is just a monster, and they also showed like technical skill in being able to still have it really, really heavy but slow as well at times, and then bring in like the double kick and the speed and everything else that you expected, like you used to get from Napalm Death and stuff like that. They bring that in, but not quite as fast as that, but still keeping that. And that guitar tone is just utter filth. It's great.
Yeah.
All right. It makes you feel like it's going to turn you into a zombie.
Well, I was going to go down a slightly different road with my recommended album, but I'm going to follow a kind of similar route to you in recommending Bolt Throwers, Those Once Loyal. That was the album that got me into death metal and that kind of style. And then everything else kind of followed from there. I love the power of the Kill Chain, and that was one of my most listened to songs from basically the past 15 years. So if you haven't seen
I mean,
that album before,
for me the quintessential Bolt Thrower album would have to be Warmaster.
Yeah.
But you know, because like the song Cenotaph on there is just, I've said this plenty of times today, is a beast.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing.
I think that's the episode title. Then we're just going to call it Beast.
Yeah. And I saw Bolt Thrower. It would have been around 1992, 93 on the Warmaster tour in a tiny little venue in Oxford called. What was it called? I can't remember. It was a pub and it was just upstairs, and it was absolutely rammed in there. Absolutely rammed in there.
I can imagine. It's too late for me with Bolt Thrower. The closest I'm going to get is Memoriam. But
yeah.
All right.
That's the closest you're going to get now, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Shrubs. Thank you so much for joining me today. These show notes are going to be absolutely packed with band recommendations this week, and that will be released as soon as possible. Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching, guys.
Cheers.